My guest today is Molly Schlachter, a photographer and creator of PhotoJam, a website online where creatives can go to re-envision life through photography and to foster personal growth and connection through an online community of other photographers. We're going to be talking about photography, tips for taking better photos, and what you can do, whether you're a beginner or an expert, to use photography as a creative outlet and as a tool for self-discovery and personal growth. Welcome to my show, Molly.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I was telling you, I'm not a photographer.
Uh-huh.
Actually, I take a lot of photos on my iPhone. I'd love to learn how to take better
My
photographs.
iPhone.
Well, that's very nice. That's cool. So, tell me how you got started taking pictures and your inspiration behind creating PhotoJam
Oh,
website.
whoa, gosh, I've been a photographer for the past 20 years. So I don't remember how I got started. I think my dad had an old Pentax when I was a kid, and I thought that was the greatest thing ever. Uh, and then after I did a stint in my life as a teacher, and I had studied fine arts, but I never really picked up the camera. And when I did, that was it. It was all over. It was
Hmm.
my obsession.
How old were you when you picked up back in the She's not old, people, by the way. She's young, but still, digital cameras haven't been around that long. So,
Well, I gotta say, so it's 2024, and when did I started doing it when digital came out, like when
okay.
it came out, that's when I picked up the camera and brought it and made it my profession.
But
So,
you mentioned Pentax, which is
well,
a
as a kid,
camera, right? A real camera, I call it.
a real camera
Yeah.
around here, it's at my
Yeah.
studio.
Which remind me, one of my questions, we could get to it now. What's the, do you think people need a real camera? I mean, they don't need one, but why would you get a real camera versus what can you do with a real camera you can't do with your iPhone or your phone?
Um, with you keep saying a real camera, like a
I'm
DSLR or something like that. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
the professional photographer, I have more control over what I'm capturing in front of my lens.
Hmm.
With my camera, I also take lots of pictures with my phone all the time, but
Hmm.
that's not professional. They're
Okay.
not, I don't use that for my job.
Hmm.
For my job, I use because I have so much creative control over, I can change the lighting, I can shoot raw. I can shoot raw with my phone too, but it's just not quite the same. It's not there yet.
Oh, so you
Maybe
use what should I call instead of a real camera? What do you call if it's not your phone,
like my
what do you call
DSLR.
your DSLR?
And
Uh,
then now we're moving into mirrorless. I haven't made that jump because I'm actually more interested in pointing and shooting these days. I
hmm,
really am doing a lot more creative photography because of PhotoJam. PhotoJam
nice.
has
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Why specifically do you think photography is a good tool for a creative outlet? And also, I see here that it's thought to be good for mental health and well-being. Like,
oh yeah, I 100% believe that when I pick up my camera, that's when all my stress kind of goes away. Monkey mind shuts off. I go into my flow when you're in your creative flow, and you can do it with a paintbrush. You can do it with writing songs. You can, however, whatever your creative path is. If you have a creative practice, then you get into that flow of
hmm.
creativity, and you forget about everything else for that minute or 20 minutes or hour or second that you're
Now,
doing it.
I even read on your site or somewhere that it can help people, photography in particular, help people process serious emotions like trauma.
Oh, well. I totally believe all of this. I
Uh,
don't think you saw that on my website. I'm not
okay.
sure if I went
Well,
there.
I'm not a photographer and I'm trying to prepare questions that are intelligent and also good for people who
But,
have just the phone, not a DSLR, and
mhm.
maybe like they want to get into photography. But to me, it's always been one of these like technical topics, like, oh, your lighting's not right and you're not a photographer, and but yeah, well, maybe that's where I came across this that people could use it to process trauma and self-discovery, not just be a professional photographer.
Right. And it's interesting that you just said that, and I gasped
Mm,
because you kind of put out there what so many people feel. And, as a kid, we're finger painting and we're doing our thing, and it really doesn't matter to us. We have no inhibition as a child to do art. So kid art is just so beautiful to me. It really is so uninhibited. But as you grow older and people tell you you're not good enough, you don't know how, don't do that, you'll make a fool out of yourself, or you know what I mean?
hmm
As we get older, we get that mindset.
Or
And so
worse, you show them what you think is a good photo, and some guy who is or girl who is a photographer doesn't understand. You got to be gentle. I'm not you. I'm not a pro. And then you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to share a photo again, and I can't do this. I take bad
yeah,
photos, which is not true. Even with music or a song, it's very subjective to who you ask.
yeah, yeah. And it's just who's to say? You, the one thing in Photo Jam we definitely believe and we celebrate everything that comes through is that all in art there is no best. We believe that there's no comparing one artist to another. You can't compare Eminem to Prince to Bob Dylan, right? I mean,
Hmm
it just doesn't make any sense to do that. In art, you wouldn't compare Picasso to Michelangelo to Andy Warhol. It doesn't make any
hmm
sense. And at Photo Jam and in life, you can't compare my artwork, my photographs to your photographs because you and I have two very unique visual voices, two very unique experiences, and and there's no way we can compete with each other because it just doesn't make sense.
hmm
So we don't compete. It's all
And
celebrate.
as long as we're talking about the personal development and discovery, we'll get to the technical stuff for you real photographers. Um, No, we won't. She's shaking her head
Maybe
no.
we will.
Okay. Well, let's keep on with this idea. So how can it be used to discover yourself and self-discovery and expression versus I'm just gonna take photos so people like my photos versus me and who I'm about and my thing. Like how
How
do
does
they
it go into self-discovery and
yeah.
self-expression?
Like one idea I read or heard is if you by looking at all the photos you take, you start to realize what's important to you in life. Like I like flowers or I like buildings, I like architecture. Like some people journal. Like a camera might be like a digital journal. And then if you
Yes.
add to that these tips we're going to talk about how to make your journal more interesting and cool pictures, then you have a good story to tell, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Self-discovery, I think more self-expression, the discovery you get along the way as I think the whole thing is a journey.
Hmm.
It's your life's creative practice. So I think of it a lot like my yoga practice. I don't expect to be perfect on the mat every time, but I as I as I move through meditation or yoga or my asanas, then I get better at it. I get better at, I guess, getting inside my head.
So give
Um,
me an example of excuse me. I'm gonna edit this out. Hmm. Um, Give me an example of somebody on your site, PhotoJam, a beginner, like real beginner. They just got a DSLR. They're
uh-huh.
how how did they evolve? Like, how'd you get them out of their fear state of being, yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
That is the
To
real challenge. That's
yeah.
the real challenge is getting to come to Photo Jam. I've found that it takes a lot of vulnerability because you're putting yourself out there and these people who maybe are professional photographers, me, like I am a professional photographer, but it doesn't mean I think I'm better than anybody else that comes.
Mm.
So how do I get them out of their fear state?
Yeah,
I
so they
think
feel
like,
comfortable and it really comes out like really like kind of like if you go to karaoke and you're afraid to sing, you got a killer voice. We've never heard it before because you're afraid to sing. How did you bring
yeah,
it out of them?
I don't know how to do it. I
Mm.
really wish I knew how to help people feel less vulnerable. But once they get there,
Hmm.
then they realize this is a safe space. I mean, we have three rules at Photo Jam
There we
that,
go. Yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah.
rules of Photo Jam are no judgment, no contests, and no politics.
I like the
And that
no contest one. Yeah,
no,
that's yeah, when you lose the contest, last place, it does not do great for your and as a
yeah,
rock climber, I've climbed mountains, a lot of mountains that have never been climbed before. And
uh-huh.
people think I am this great climber. I have to tell them the story of when I started climbing, they had to push me up the easiest climb. Scared, scared. And like, I mean, I was the last guy to get up, and only because enough people pushed me, literally, like, I'll stand and terrified to rappel. Like, I'd go out and spend the whole afternoon just, nope, not going to do it, just to go down a 20-foot cliff. Um, and then,
No, look at you.
yeah, so, but also I found the right people when I realized that people I was with weren't really supporting me. I somehow was lucky enough to maybe they didn't like me enough. They left and I had to find other people. And then there were good people I found. I'm like, oh, thanks for
Yeah.
your encouragement. And oh, yeah, I can learn this. And oh, yeah, I'm really good at it actually. If you teach me what to do different and don't just say it's bad.
You have to step out of your comfort zone to get to that good stuff, right? If someone
Hmm.
hadn't pushed you up that hill, or if you hadn't even tried, or say you never tried again
Yeah,
after that coming in the last place or whatever it was, what if you'd never tried again?
yeah.
You would never get anywhere. You just really have to step out of your comfort zone a little bit to get the magic.
So
And
yeah.
if you're shooting and you do get a lot of that flow state as you're creating, but that I found there's another flow state as I don't know if I would call it the flow state, but there's another kind of euphoric thing that happens when you share your work and when you
Mm.
realize how other people see it. Like I have a ton of
Oh
pictures.
yeah. And
You know what
you
I
don't.
mean?
Yep. And you don't get that feedback right away or ever. That's the hard part. You could be,
Forever.
or ever, right?
Yeah. You
No,
said that.
you only get the one person that didn't like it. So
Yeah.
you got to just basically, I guess the answer is you do your thing and you try to you just try to not grow a tougher skin. Just keep in mind that just don't listen to people. Keep doing what you want. So let's talk about what
Uh-huh.
people can do to take better photos. So there's this term elements of design.
Oh, yes.
Tell me
Okay.
what elements of design is and how we can use that to create more interesting photos.
Oh, so this is in Photo Jam. We go through jam journeys, and each week the members will get a lesson in something, and then we present on Thursday nights. We meet for the jam, but the elements of design was an entire journey that we went through, just looking at the elements of basically graphic design, and that's I'm gonna miss one. Shape and form, line, color, tone and value, space.
This is where the since even though I'm an engineer, I'm not a photographer with technical experience. I start to go, I'm never gonna get this. So let's just pick one of those of that
Okay.
list. And the
So
most important one and the easiest one for a beginner to use.
color. I mean, I
Oh,
don't know if
color.
it's the
Yeah,
easiest.
color.
I don't know if it's even the most important, but color can do so much. If you're shooting for color or you're think about how color works. It can make you happy. It can make you feel calm. It can really powerful emotions in color. Shooting color can be very fun to play with because it can bring out a lot of emotions in the viewer.
So if I wanted to, let's do happy and sad, the extremes. Basically, if I was wanting to document something, maybe I'm feeling happy. We'll go with the happy first.
Good.
Then I wouldn't go out at nighttime to take photos, or I want brighter colors. I'd want to go
Maybe.
intentionally find brighter, maybe, no, or not.
Maybe. So, you always think, oh, yellow. Yellow is a really happy color. Then I
Hmm.
read somewhere that yellow has a tendency to make people angry. And it's also like an alert color. We have the red
Oh,
light.
call to action, like on a website. Call to action,
Mhm.
buy this now. Amazon. Yeah.
Oh, do
Or
they use
orange,
yellow?
oh, yeah, orange and yellow. Yeah.
So, I mean, yellow can also be a happy color. It reminds you of the smiley face or
Yeah.
school
Yeah. Yeah.
bus. Or,
Yeah.
what else is yellow? Some fruit, bananas, yeah, lemons, the sun. We think
Mm.
of that as yellow. It's one of the primary colors,
So,
red, yellow, and
yeah,
blue. Hmm.
the engineer in me wants to go online and research colors and what they mean. The guy who's like, that's not going to get you where you want because everyone's going to do that. Uh, had this idea just now. Don't think about it. Go what feels good. Go with your camera, right? And when you're gonna take a photo, do I feel good about that color? Like pay attention to color and go instead of intentionally uh going to look for yellow, intentionally think about color. Keep the word
Mhm.
color in your head and then just with the word focusing on the thought color, maybe take photos and go, oh, I like that. What color is it? I don't even know what color that is, but that's working. Maybe it's something like that.
Something like that. I mean, you can think, I'm going to photograph yellow today. And then you'll just wander
Hmm.
through your day and you're going to see yellow everywhere because
Oh,
you'll manifest.
cool. Oh,
It'll
that sounds
just be,
fun. That sounds fun.
right? So
Yeah.
that's what we do in the Elements of Design Jam Journey. We focus on, say, it's color. It's like, okay, where am I seeing color? Well, everywhere, right?
Hmm.
Where am I seeing lines? Everywhere. And the more you look, the more you see leading lines. I just thought of another one of them, pattern.
Hmm.
Everywhere you look, you'll see patterns. I'm looking in front of me. I have a stack of books over there. Pattern, 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 pattern. I have my guitar right in front of me across the room, and it's the pattern of the strings. And
Hmm.
even my keyboard in front of me is like pattern of these little shapes. So you see it everywhere, and then capture it how it feels lovely or beautiful to you, and
Hmm.
then share it with somebody.
Yeah, the sharing is the part. If you take a photo and don't share, it's like you wrote a song and you never sing it for anybody. You never go to open mic.
Exactly.
Yeah, who's it for? Yourself. And
Hmm.
and but then I know people who are afraid to post it, not just because of feedback, or maybe it is. What's your experience with the resistance to share photos? Why people don't share them or are resistant?
Again, it's that vulnerability that people have of sharing and afraid people are going to think it's not good enough or not as good as somebody else. And so that whole comparison thing and judgment, there's a lot of judginess out there.
Yeah,
And
I
if
did.
you post
Yeah.
it on Instagram or one of the socials, so Instagram is a great visual. I like Instagram because it is so visual and I could just scroll through all day long and look at pictures. But posting on Instagram, what if no one likes it? What if people,
Yeah. You get no
whatever?
likes. Yeah, you get no likes. It's been
But
up
you
to
also don't, you get no likes. What a
yeah.
tragedy. Not a tragedy.
You can delete your
But
account, start all over, different handle, different name
yeah,
when you
yeah.
change.
But you can share it with a friend, or if you're lucky enough to have a creative group that shares together. That's what Photo Jam is. It's a
Mm.
group that will share photos and they give feedback. How does this photograph make me the nice thing about Photo Jam is that when you share a photograph on Photo Jam, everyone talks about it. Everyone gives their feedback, how it makes them feel, what they see, and what they like about the photograph.
Nice.
And they don't necessarily know whose photograph it is. Person whose photograph it is muted, may not speak,
The person, I'm trying to picture this. I post a photo,
and we'll mute you and we'll talk about your photo.
but then how
Yeah,
do I get the feedback? How do I
you
get the,
listen. You're there. It's a Zoom call,
oh, I
and
listen.
yeah,
Okay.
you listen. And you'll get the feedback. And after a few minutes, then we will open your mic back up and say, probably ask you questions. Say, how did you
Oh,
get
cool.
this shot? What did you take? Did you use your phone? Did you use a camera?
Mm,
Whatever. And then the author of the photograph is allowed to speak and reveal that it's their photograph.
mm.
So, yeah, it's a little bit less anxiety producing there because you're not allowed to speak. And I noticed that new people when they come, they want to say right away the first thing that someone says about it, or they want
Well,
to
they want to defend it before
they
they
want
even
to
give people a chance to say I like it. It's
exactly.
like saying, I don't have a good voice and I just learned guitar, but I'm gonna do you a song. Like, you didn't need to tell me that. It could be a great song, plus you're ruining it for me. Like if you told me you're a beginner photographer and then you tell me that and then you show me the photo and it's a great photo, subconsciously I'm going to be like, oh, it can't be that good. She's a beginner. So you've kind of already implanted seeds in people's heads to influence their feedback. And it's because you're afraid. You're afraid of, you're
Yeah. So we
afraid.
don't have any of that. We don't have
Oh,
any of
nice.
that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because you mute them. You got that
We mute
covered.
them.
Yeah. I try to understand why you mute them. I get it now. And the other thing is, I think if for speaking for myself, not in photos but other creative stuff, you put stuff up, you get no likes. Sometimes you feel bad, but the time you put it up and you get one like or two likes or three, it's like people are, I'm like, I got three likes. I'm like, why are you so excited? I'm like, I got three likes. Like somebody likes my stuff. If you never put it up, you can't get any likes or any
Yeah.
feedback, right?
And it could be the same with like putting a song on YouTube or putting out a podcast, right?
Yeah.
What if no one wants to listen? Well, there'll be someone. There's always someone that wants to listen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have such a good content. I really love what you're doing with the
Oh, thank
wellness,
you.
mental
Thank you.
wellness. It's good. It's important.
Um, so let's give them another tip. Beginnings.
Another
Negative space. What is negative space?
negative space is the space around the subject. And um, if we had a visual, I'm such a visual person. I wish I had.
Yeah, that's like a song. You tell someone's like, so what do you sound like? What kind of music? I'm like, you have to hear it. Definitely a photograph. You gotta see the photo. I take pictures of buildings or landscape. Like, yeah,
Mhm,
whatever, like desert landscape. Um, but like with a negative space, I think of the sky for some reason. Like you have a
mhm,
blank sky. So can you
mhm.
picture an example using the sky as negative space?
So I would say my tip about negative space is to really embrace negative space and look at the negative space for what it offers the photograph compositionally. How, what shape does it make? And a nice example of negative space is like you're shooting something in silhouette, and whatever the silhouette is your subject, right? But then there's that beautiful space around your silhouette that is also part of the composition. Like everything in your frame is part of your composition. So I would say negative space, just pay attention to it and make sure it's what you want to portray. And sometimes it can even become your subject,
Mm.
depending on how you use it.
So when you said silhouette, I'm trying to get a picture because I said sky. Is it your shadow, like a building or a person's shadow? Did
It's
you say
usually
silhouette?
when I have a picture in my head of someone like a sunset and people making that shadow shape in the sunset. Do you get a visual there?
Mm,
I didn't
uh,
describe it.
I picture
And
sunset on the beach.
yeah, but if
Um,
someone is in between you and the sun, then you have that dark shape.
oh, okay, because they're out of the lights behind them.
Yes,
So they're like unless you have a flash, they're a dark figure
right.
set against the negative space of
The
and
sunset.
the sunset. And and correct me or lead me if I'm not saying it right or I'm wrong, but negative space is what sounds negative. It the space idea is everything else is a distraction. You don't want distractions around your subject, right? And if the person, the silhouette is the subject you want people's attention to focus on, and your photo clearly has to have other stuff in it. The negative stuff is what you don't want. You don't want the it's the lack of it's not having a distraction, but in a nice way.
So I think about a lot of photographs have some, the scene that I just described. So we have the subject of, and then we have everything else, which is the negative space or the sunset.
Hmm.
So the sunset in itself is can be a character in the composition. So we have the subject who is definitely the character of the composition against the backdrop of a sunset.
It's like a
And so
story.
it's there you go. We have a little story. We have two characters there competing with each other in the comp to be the compositional star of the show, right? And so is
Hmm.
it the sunset or is it the silhouetted person or
Mm.
thing, whatever? So it really is, we go super mindful
Mm.
on each photograph that we share at Photo Jam, and we'll look at a photo, and when you begin to look at a photo and stare at it, stare into it, it really becomes more with the viewing and the observation of a single photo. Where if you're in a gallery or museum or an art show, you would just look at a painting, a photo, whatever, and move on to the next one. And it really is about the whole vibe of the
Collection.
theme of the collection. Yeah. But you just give it a few seconds and then you move on. But imagine if you stopped and just stared at one for 5 minutes.
Mm.
It's not
Some
a lot
people
of
do
time.
have done that to me in art galleries, paintings. I don't really appreciate it as others. I'm like, what do you see, Daniel? And I'm like, it doesn't work for me that way, but I can wrap my head around a photograph a lot easier. What do you see? Well, I see this. Do I see the sunset or the person first?
Yeah.
And maybe then if you're the photographer and someone says, I see the sun first, but you wanted them to see the people, maybe that would help you next time. I wonder why they're looking at the sun instead of the people. I mean, unless the sun was really neat and I didn't think about it, and that's why they like the photo, which is okay. I'll take the feedback. Right? I didn't know that when I took the photo, but I wanted to see the people.
It's
I'm a
there's
wedding
something
photographer. Yeah.
There's something
Mm,
very meditative about staring at art. I
mm.
mean, you can really go into it. And depending on the piece, there it could be maximalist, it could have lots of energy and lots of um, pieces to it, or it
Mhm.
could be very minimalist and serene. So, so much to
So, what
find.
about abstract photography? Uh, Um, and do you make a real clear distinction? Like, I'm gonna do abstract, make stuff look blurry, extreme, use filters, versus I'm not gonna use abstract. Like for songwriting, I'm not gonna use auto tune deliberately. Or do you ever get into that? Like, I'm
Uh-huh.
just like, yeah. Tell me about abstract photography.
So we're actually going through an abstract journey right now, where every week we're doing, well, every week we have some master photographer to represent. And what we're doing in the abstract photography journey is we are looking at different movements of abstract photography. So there's surrealism, constructivism, Dada, uh, abstract expressionism, minimalism. So there's a lot to look at within those movements. And then how do you get these? How do you use
What do they mean?
what do they mean?
Surrealism. What's surrealism?
Surrealism is like I think of Salvador Dali and his artwork. You think like the melting of the clock. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say I'm trying to think of someone really famous. Dali is
Hmm.
the most famous I could think of, but surrealism is where the artist tries to give you a bit of imbalance or unease or
Hmm.
some just take you off balance somehow, and
Hmm.
somehow sometimes almost even sickening. So
Hmm.
not that it's trying to sicken you, but it just when you visually see it, you might feel a little dizzy or woozy.
Surreal. Like
Yes,
surreal.
sir. Hmm.
Hmm. And is it
So
hard to do? Hard to do that on purpose? Make a surreal
I
photograph?
think I think so. But you can actually, we don't get into a lot of the like post-processing stuff. That's always an option. But if you're going, if you're walking down a street and there's a puddle on the street, you see the reflection in that puddle and how it kind of makes the reflection kind of wavy and watery. That is the best way I can describe how to make a photo more surreal, by abstracting it through a water or a reflection.
Hmm. So it's
And
real.
then,
It's just you don't know you're looking at a puddle up close
yeah,
and it
it's
looks
so
surreal, but
it's
it is
real.
real. It is real. It's just the way you photographed it. That is it
Yeah.
real?
So everyone is encouraged to, and no one is, I don't want anyone to like just copy another artist's work. I think everyone is encouraged to find their own voice. Like, how do you want to make this photograph? How do you want to cause imbalance? And
Hmm.
then your creative practice kicks in. And the only thing I really say to people is I think people should take a photo walk once a week, take
Hmm.
an hour a week. And how does that feel? And
Just
yeah,
photograph whatever captures your attention, intuition. Like you don't know why, but I think I'll take a photo of this, and I think I'll take a photo of that.
and hopefully they have the prompt from Photo Jam, that they've just learned about surrealism and how that works, or Dadaism or
Hmm.
constructivism, and they can say, "Oh, I see how this can create a constructivist composition or surreal composition or whatever."
Hmm.
But yeah, it's not anybody else's um, viewpoint. It's only you. Only you can see the way you see from the experiences and life that you've had. It
Hmm.
looks different to everybody else. And if two people go on a walk together or five people go on the same walk, you'd be amazed how everybody comes back with completely different Like,
what was important to them, the
yeah,
leaves on the tree or the birds or the flowers or the sky or the mountains or other people or the ground. Yeah,
right. And the way they see it. So some people see it like if you're taking a picture of a bird, some people will zoom in really close and get that beak perfectly in
oh,
focus.
right. Yeah.
Some people want to see the tree that it's in. Some
Hmm.
people want to capture the color of it really is
Hmm.
so individualized and that's what makes the tapestry so beautiful and rich.
Now, you mentioned the word composition, which is one I actually do remember in basic photography, which is, but I'm still don't know consciously how to use it better. So the idea of composition is like the person in the sunset, the person, or it's the elements, right? So meaning I don't want someone with their surfboard in the photograph. That'd be distracting. Talk to me about the composition, the elements, things if you don't know better to look out for like that. Like what do you and do you not want in your photo? You're locked in on the person in the sunset. How do you make sure you get a good photo of the person in the sunset with that in mind?
Well, that's so subjective, right? Is it a
Mm.
good photo? How do you get a good photo? But there are some compositional techniques to use, some rules to break. So, for example, the rule of thirds is a very common one where you kind of break your composition up into like that 2 lines and 2 lines. So it's nine
Tic-tac-toe?
boxes. Yeah, the tic-tac-toe. And so where those intersect, you can put an interesting element in that corner and this just so you're
Hmm.
focusing on that rule of thirds, what's
Hmm.
happening there. And
Okay.
then there's the compositional, another technique you might use is symmetry. So maybe you have everything right in the center. Um, and that's also a technique that breaks the rule of thirds rule. But knowing that it is a rule is helpful when you start out. Like, and if you know the rules, you can know how to break them. And we're actually going to be starting a compositional techniques journey and master photographer's journey. I haven't really massaged it all the way out, but that's what's
So
coming up.
rules of third, say I was in the forest and I had
Mhm.
3 trees. I'd want to get big trees, not 4 trees, or if I had is am I overthinking the rule of third?
So
Or is
threes. You,
trees?
yeah, there's the rule of odds too, which is if you have a composition of and you put in an odd number of elements, like you said, 3 trees or 5 trees. If
But
you
not
have
four. Yeah.
3 trees or 2 trees, then you're looking at a more balance. It's less about the rule of odds, which is also a technique that you can use to make a visual more engaging.
What's the
Having said
technique?
that, I'm just thinking about how to break it. Like, I
Yeah,
guess
go. Go. Uh-huh.
my brain goes, how do I break that rule right away?
Okay. How do
Because
you?
the rule of odds,
Mm-hmm.
I rule of evens. I don't know if that's a rule.
Okay. There are no rules. There's rules, but no rules.
There are rules
Uh,
with no rules. But if you have, I really am a big fan of center weighted, center focused things. And that is oppositional to the rule of thirds.
and
And
what does
I like,
center focused mean? It stays in focus.
so center focused just meaning that surfer in front of the sunset is in the middle of your frame.
Oh,
And there's
yeah,
equal
yeah.
balance on each
Yep.
side, the
Yeah.
center focus.
For some reason, I've learned that one the hard way over the years too. You put the person in, well, it's like when you're making your avatar for Facebook or Instagram, your personal
Yeah.
photo, right?
Uh-huh.
Put your face in the middle. You know, you put your face in you're the reason where they want your face on the profile. Put your face in the middle. If you're cropping a photo and you're on the beach, you know, you don't need to see the beach. You need to see your face in or put yourself in the center. Yeah.
Or if you have the surfer on the right side, maybe in line with one of those rule of thirds lines, then you have this open negative space to the other side of them, then that open negative space becomes part of the composition
Hmm.
and can really give a beautiful balance to like where the eye goes. Does it go to that sunset or does it go to the surfer?
Which brought,
Oh,
like, if say if there was a line in the sand, somebody drew with a stick, some kid with on the beach. What's the thing in terms of, I learned this in climbing when people would show me good climbing photos. They'd go, you see how the rope goes diagonal and leads up to the climber, and then the rope disappears in the bottom of the photo, not straight down the middle of the photo, but down in the left corner, like the leading. Is that the line you're referring to?
so then we have, I mean, it's all of it is all of it. So that's the one of the big elements of design is the leading lines.
Hmm.
And so you can find a composition, it could be a windy road, it could be that one line, that perspective when you're looking and it zooms into if you have something
Follow
and
it. You
yeah,
can't help it. It's like it's pointing to it.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as a photographer or an artist, you can place something at the end of that leading line, or that's the point of it. You have your subject, and then
Hmm.
you create the lines leading the eye toward that. And it,
And when you said road, with the rope, it's not just a line. It brings me to go climber, climbing, rope. That's what keeps them from falling. It's part of the story or the gets me
yeah,
engaged. And when you say road, it's not just we're trying to find a random line. Whatever I'm guessing your subject is, someone holding a map or stopped in a car or on the side of the road. Your road is
yeah.
probably part of the story and the leading, it's not just a leading line, it's a leading story or leading part theme or something, right?
You're getting it, Daniel.
I'm trying. I'm
That's it. I mean, you're
uh,
not, you're more of you're a singer-songwriter, right?
yep.
That's you. Is that your creative practice? Is that where you find your flow?
Yeah, this is really hard to learn songs actually. I couldn't write them and I was beating my head for years till I found one piece of advice I give people. I finally am like, find an expert, somebody real good. To which, not to plug Photo Jam intentionally here, but if there's experts you can find, you don't have to pay. They'd love to teach people. I'm guessing Photo Jam might be a place. I'm meeting you here, right?
People, yeah, well, photo jam,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
it's
so
not
back to
free,
songwriting,
but but people can come and check it out. There are lots of free lessons there, and yes, you can get expert feedback at photo jam.
expert feedback. So, and I guess also I'm a good expert, or I'm just lucky. And then they explain basic, writing a song is like writing a story. And they broke it down for me like where are you now? That's the first verse. Where are you going? That's the next verse. And then the last part is, what if it doesn't work out, or what will you do then? And it's a story. It was like the lights turned on. I'm like, oh, I can do that. I can write a song. But no one had told me that before. I thought you just sat down and wrote a song like Paul McCartney, which is kind of not true. So maybe with the photos, it's the same thing. People think, oh, if I just go out and I'm not good at this. I go out, I take photos and they're not good. No expert just did that and was a genius. It was a work in progress, right? And someone taught them. They had to learn.
There's some structure. So you were
Mhm.
given the structure of a song, and I'm kind of inspired by that. Because it's like a story, right? You have
Hmm.
your beginning, your middle, and the what do they say in a story? The denouement and the climax, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. And so you have that same structure in the story. At Photo Jam, you are given a structure, you're given something every week to put your artwork into. Like, how am I saying that? To kind of create around or to give you some guidelines.
When you
Mhm.
mentioned when you when you fed it back to me that way, a thought came into my mind that maybe I'm wondering you could apply this to photography. So you have the basics in a song. You're happy or sad. And you have the basic story, but what I heard you kind of hint at is in a song, what's going to happen next? We're not sure. That's why he's singing this. Happy birthday would be boring. It's over. What's the song about? It's like the angst or what's happened. So I'm wondering, when I think about it, if you took a good photo, you get the main gist, but then like maybe what's happening next? Why did this person take this? Like you see, maybe if your composition's somebody sitting on the steps crying outside the courthouse, and then you have the courthouse and the person, those are your subjects, but something else is like, what's next for them? Why are they crying? In addition to that, an emotion triggers an emotion.
Right.
Yeah.
But that another interesting thing that I see a lot is people will bring us a will present a photo and or submit a photo and it will get looked at and they have no intentionality of any story. The author of the photograph has no intentionality for the story. They're just like, I just thought it looked cool, right? But
Yeah.
the
Yeah. A lot of good
people
photos are
viewing
like
it,
that. Cool. Yeah.
the audience viewing it will see so much. And so it's
Yeah.
almost like the photograph becomes richer the more you look at it and you see, wow, this is really a powerful photograph. I just thought it was because I thought it looked cool, right?
So
But
if
then you
you,
have the
yeah.
audience more.
So if you learn some basic skills and you're
Mhm.
walking down with your photo and you see the sad person sitting on the court steps and you're like, this is going to be, you will also have the technical skills. Look, we talked about with my songwriting, not technical, but you understand how songs are written or whatever. And you rule thirds and your composition and your color. You go, wait a minute. Okay, I got that. And what about color? How could I use that here? Because I got the idea. Like I'm gonna really kill it. I'm gonna really make it great here. A few things, right? That could have it all, have both. If you have a few
Or it
basic
could just be
skills.
like, where am I going to place this person in in the frame? Does the person crying on the courthouse steps, do you see the steps? Or is it just a close up of the face? How do you use your visual voice to tell that story?
Mm. And how would you do that? Think about how would you get your inspiration to do that?
Put a picture inspiration to do that. I mean, I can see so many different variations of that. Like
Hmm.
you described it beautifully. And I sort of had, a visual of it in my head, but every person comes with their human experience of where they've been, what they've seen, what they like,
Hmm.
and how they look at that photograph, how they look at that scene. So some people may put, zoom out and have the person on the steps as a smaller element of the whole composition. Some people might zoom right in on that person and that would fill the frame. Some
Mm.
people might have, you know, maybe take a photograph of their hands worrying over something. I don't
That's
know.
what I was
You know
thinking.
what I
Maybe the hands, the zoom, and then when you mentioned
mean?
zooming out and they're not, they're smaller in the picture. At first, I'm like, well, you're making them less important. And then what came to my mind and my feeling was, they're just, that's the whole idea. Who cares about those little people in the photo? There's all this other stuff going on in the world, and those sad people, does anyone care about them? So by just doing that simple thing, zooming out or zooming in, and zooming
Uh-huh.
in could be the hands, oh, they're actually praying.
Oh, oh,
Right? And then come think of it, you they're all good.
yeah. 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 It's all, it doesn't, you can't judge it. Like, it's
Hmm,
like the thing that photo jam is different from a camera club because when you go to a camera club. There are lots of camera clubs. First of all, they all have contests. Like they have blue ribbons and first place, second
yeah.
place, and they're judging and there's always someone that loses there. But I look at those photos and I'm like, how can you tell me that it should be cropped a different way? Because it's cropped that way. This is how I cropped it. This is how the
Yeah.
author cropped it. You can't say it should be cropped a different way because it's already done and
I
it's
would
already
say
what it is.
this is because if they took the photo, they would have cropped it. And I would say, well, write your own song. and then sing your own song, man. The same love
You
song or whatever. Yeah. This is my
you do.
song. Yeah.
And there's lots to learn from other songwriters, right?
Hmm.
Like you can share your songs with other songwriters and other singers and you have a lot to learn from them. But they
But
can't
I'll
tell
add
you how.
real quick, never, uh, yes, other pros, other
Mhm.
professionals that you can learn from, never share your song. And maybe this is true for photos too. Don't ask your best friend, your family, somebody really close,
Mhm.
because the reason is, well, I guess you could, because I was going to say they should be like non-subjective. Everyone feels different about something, but my experience, for whatever reason, they don't mean to, but they'll always come off as a bit judgy. I don't know why that is. They don't mean to, but it's not productive.
Yeah.
And oh, you know what it is because if they say they don't like it, they can't
Mhm.
tell you why. It could be they don't like that kind of music, but let's say it's music or photo. You're telling them because you really want some constructive feedback. Okay, it's a work
Mhm.
in progress. How can I make it better? But they'll just tell you, well, is that, why don't you write country instead of rock, or like just give up, or why don't, like, they can't give you anything except they didn't like it, which is just not helpful. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
You
so I never do that.
yeah, you need to have someone who's going to give you constructive,
Yeah.
not just opinion. You
One
don't
idea
really
that came to me is because what I'll do with songs is I'll play them out in public.
and see
And
how they go over.
exactly. And
Yeah.
And so I'll play it, and it takes, even Bob Dylan, who I was never a big fan of his, he was like, you critics should just once try to do what I do. You put your heart, blood, and soul into a song, and then you go out and play it, and you just get crucified. Once I would like to see you just do that and take, and of course, a lot of them are great songs. So what I just came to think with photographs is maybe sharing with strangers, people who don't know you at all, is best because then you just get rid of that kind of subjectivity. Oh, so back to the songs.
Yeah.
I will not say, like you mentioned, muting people. I will just be still and quiet after I play it and listen for applause or reaction. If it's dead silence,
Yeah.
oh, well, I need to work on that song and I'll play it again. And here's the really tough part. The really tough part is I practiced it, I tweaked it, I'm going to play it again. And if it's still dead,
Yeah.
it's good, man. Like, song's not work. I don't know what it is. I like song. It's just, but the other half the time or more, because I won't do it until I feel it's ready. Like, I wouldn't put a photograph out just unless I really felt, I wouldn't ask anybody for feedback unless I really thought it was my best. And I'm like really ready. And there are times when I do, and there's applause. I'm like, wow,
Hmm.
people like that song. Like, what? I don't get it. Okay, fine. I didn't even think that was good. I wasn't even gonna play it. And then you do it again, you get it, and you're like, that's I don't know why, but that's resonating with people. So it's just you gotta have vulnerability and do it. And
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's worth it to have that vulnerability because you learn so much. And
Mhm.
PhotoJam does not look for things that are bad or negative. They always look for strengths because we believe in um, finding in your visual voice what is your strong point and amplifying your strengths. So when you do your next photograph or your next photo walk and you're looking for the same things, you think, I'm really good at leading lines. I'm really
Oh
good at
yeah,
capturing
yeah,
color.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I know that because it was proven to me at Photo Gym in the last photograph that I put, they really liked how I
Mm-hmm.
captured color.
Mm-hmm.
And you might amplify that, and that might become part of your visual voice. But what your strengths are what become amplified.
Mm-hmm.
And that hones your mark on the the visual, the visual
Yeah.
world and your art. And same with songwriting. Like imagine if you had a place where you could put a song out, no one knew it was yours,
Hmm.
and just got raw feedback on that song. And then
Yeah.
and they looked for what was strong about it, and you got that feedback. How would that feel?
Yeah. And you learn, like you say, your strengths. Like
Mm-hmm.
can I sing high notes or low notes or fast songs or slow and what's working for me and what's not? And you can always be stubborn and stick to what you like, even if it's not your strength. But if your purpose is really to inspire and communicate and lift people up and with your
Yeah.
art, then you probably want to go with what people are going, hey, you're really good at that, take more landscape photos. Whatever reason you take good landscape photos, who would have thought? And yeah, I like taking landscape photos. Thanks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to take more of them anyhow instead of buildings, but I thought people like buildings more, so I started getting to taking pictures of buildings. If I knew you would have liked landscape photos, I'd love to take landscape photos, and I'm good at it. I'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just some I professional photographers get stuck in a rut of what pays the bills. And so they end up doing a lot of headshots and that's like, you can do that by rote, it's easy. Um, it's not easy. You have to have the right lighting, whatever. But if you are going down a creative path with your photography, um, it it just becomes a lot more. You know what I
So
mean?
if somebody feels stuck, that
Hmm.
happens with me songs, it happens with any artistic work. For photography, what do you recommend they do? Like, I've been there, done it, and I never do anything interesting. People don't love my photos, or I'm just getting bored. How do they get out of that rut?
So yeah, the mental block of being
Yeah.
stuck in a. I have a great answer for that right in front of me. Um, have you heard of the oblique strategies?
The Brian Eno, Brian Eno, I didn't know him until U2. He, uh, he produced all of U2's albums. Oh, a Coldplay. Big Coldplay producer, turned Coldplay into who they are. And then his backstory is he was a piano player and what kind of music did he do? Anyway, he's a very creative type. I have not heard about,
Yeah.
what's this called
So
again?
he and Peter Schmidt wrote this. They created these oblique strategies,
Oblique
and
strategies.
it's like from the 70s, I think. And they like when you get stuck or when you need some creative boost,
Hmm.
it's these they called them 100 worthwhile dilemmas. And it's cards. And I share these all the time. I let people pick them.
Looks like a
So
deck of cards.
it's like a deck of cards and it has all these. So you're stuck in your songwriting. You don't know what to do. You're like, what should I do here? I want to pick a card for you. Tell me when.
Mm,
Tell me when. I want to pick
when?
one.
When?
Oof. Discard an axiom.
What is an axiom?
I don't know. I think of an
Discard.
axiom as one of the brain synapse things.
Oh, I'll have to Google.
Okay, let's
What
do
is
another
it?
one.
What's the axiom?
I don't know.
Oh,
I think of an
those guys.
axiom like the a brain fire. But I could be wrong in
Oh,
this,
yeah,
but
the brain neurons. Um,
yeah.
it's a hypothetical elementary particle theorized in 1978.
Oh,
What? Oh,
and
the
we're going
mean
down.
hypoth hypothetical? Maybe it's get rid of a hypothetical. A what if? Man, these
Oh,
guys are deep.
right? Okay, here's
Okay,
another one.
but I'm
This
onto
one's
it.
pretty easy.
What get rid of a what if? Oh,
Okay,
anyway,
here's
that's what be extravagant. Okay. I can wrap my head around that one. Yeah.
so I think these are like I think of them as like koans for the creatives. So a
She was
koan.
holding up another card, by the way. So the second card said
Oh,
be
sorry.
extravagant. Yeah. For those who can't see. Yeah.
Here's another one. Actually, another card.
Try faking it. That's my favorite.
Try faking it. So I think
Yeah.
of these the Buddhist koan is just like a something you ruminate over, a saying or a phrase or something you can just think about and turn around in your head. So I think of these as like creative koans that when you get stuck, or if you're just starting and you don't know how to get started or don't know how to finish, then you
Hmm.
take one of these cards, and it's very fun for
Well,
me
what
to.
came to mind with the photos is, now that I understand what axiom is, I could go
Yeah.
out and try to photo physicist or axiom, literally go, or the what if. I could go
Hmm.
try to take my camera, walk down the street, and think of, I'm going to take photos of what ifs. Like, what if?
I love that.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
be extravagant. That's probably straightforward. And what was the third card we just pulled?
Try faking it.
Yeah, faking it. So go walk down with your camera and look for things that are faking it. A fake tree. Yeah, there's one at the Chinese restaurant I went the other day, all the pink flowers, and it's in the desert. And I'm like, that tree's real. And people are like, nope, it's fake. So what we do, I'm gonna go over and pick one, look at one of the leaves. And I go over and touching the leaves on the tree. It is a fake tree, it turns out. That's why the leaves are perfect and pink, and it's 108 degrees out. But yet, a fake tree was so real. It had all these fake leaves on the ground from being in the sun, getting beat up, falling off of it.
Yeah.
But pulling that card, that would have been what I did that day. I would have been out of my, and a lot of abstract art would come out of that because it was
Hmm.
a fake tree. So game
So
on.
that was just put
And
together,
color. Yeah.
and I don't know the whole story. Brian Eno and Peter Schmidt
Mhm.
got together and made these cards.
Who is
And
Peter's? Who is
Peter
Peter?
Schmidt was a visual artist, and I'm not sure of his biography either, but I know him from the oblique strategies. They're
Oblique
hard to find.
strategist.
I don't know where I found these,
Oh,
but
they're
they
out
are,
of print.
I think
Must
so.
be out of
Yeah.
print. There's
Yeah.
probably something similar to them though, or you could make your own flashcards or a box of. There's a
Sure.
creative activity.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I reach for those a lot. They're fun.
Seems like really fun. I want to do it.
Like this
Mm.
conversation has been really fun.
So is there anything else you can think of that, if on Photo Jam, your service or tips for photographers, anything come to mind that
So if I were giving advice to a photographer starting out and just wanting to be creative, or someone having any creative practice, I would say just do it, keep doing it. And don't be afraid to share your work, whether it's at Photo Jam and you're getting feedback there, or if you must on the social medias, although that can make you feel bad. Don't don't look for validation on social media.
but you would encourage people to get on Instagram.
I don't know. I
No?
would encourage,
Hmm.
yeah, because I think that the social media is a tough one
Well, let
because
me
it
back up then and ask it this way.
I don't know.
What do you think about Instagram?
I love hate Instagram
Mm,
because I love looking at I like it because it's such a dominant visual thing. And
hmm.
so I could just look at beautiful photography all day long and get lost in that rabbit hole. But I also feel like if I'm putting my stuff out there to try to get a million likes, then
Hmm.
I don't, I think I'll just be brokenhearted. And I think a
That's
lot of
always a bad thing to do, people. Never do it
people,
to get liked.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, do it because you want to share it, but don't mind the likes or
Don't do it because you want something from somebody. Don't
I
do
would
it. Yeah. You're
I would
doing it.
say you should get a group of creative friends and have a regular practice of sharing and giving feedback.
When I write a song and I play it in public, it's never about me. It's
Hmm.
always about this person that I'm teaching now, and he's brilliant. He's doing great. He didn't know how to play the guitar or write a song, and
Hmm.
so sometimes, the uh, it wasn't the best. Um, but he finally got a couple songs he could go with, like a slow song, a fast song, a rock song, and I would explain to him, it's not about how what you want to do. What's the vibe? Is it a coffee shop or is it a morning? Is it want to be a little energetic or is it at nighttime in a bar that we're playing? We're gonna do. You want to amp it up? Not about you, man. So with the photos, I'm a photographer myself, really. But if I was posting, I'd do the same thing. I'm like, I'm gonna post it. Why am I doing it? Um, yeah, is it to make somebody's day, make them smile? Or is it back to the person crying on the courthouse steps? Is it showing you're not alone in the world? Because I got this photo that's zoomed out and shows this little person. What are you trying to inspire, encourage, uplift? Or if you're the type that wants to do violence and inject that kind of stuff into our world, well, then fine, no judgment, but don't post it just because, see the cool blood and guts photo I posted. Don't you want to like it? Like, yeah, right. Um, And I don't think you can go wrong if you have the intention of it's not about me, it's about, yeah, I mean, I do have the gift for photography. I'm an amazing photographer. Yeah, like stroke my ego, but I don't need that. I'm doing this for the community, for the people, right? Yeah, okay. So Instagram, the reason I asked you is because my brother's a photographer and I keep trying to, when are you going to get your handle? When are you going to post your stuff? And he's a great photographer, by the
Yeah.
way. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's good. He's been carrying a camera around like you since when we were kids, long before we could drive. Our mom would drop us off in the mountains, and my thing was hiking. So we'd have the
Mhm.
dog, and he'd have his camera, the old Pentax or whatever it was, backpack reel
Yeah.
film. Yeah. So I keep trying to get him on Instagram because that's all I know. I mean, or seems to be the median. He keeps resisting. So maybe I'll slow it. Maybe I'll won't. I'll pull back on my pushing. So besides Photo Jam, any other ideas in terms of the digital space?
The
Face,
digital space.
yeah,
Well, I can say one thing I see about Instagram is when you start posting your photos on your Instagram page, it really, after a while, you really see a comprehensive picture of somebody's. Like you can scroll through, and if it's all pictures of someone's dog, right, then it's all about the dog. Dog does this cute, dog does that cute. Or if it's all about art. Like you really kind of get a visual vibe about a person from their Instagram feed. And
mm,
you can check out Photo Jams. Photo Jammers is the handle for Instagram. And you can look at all the photos that have been posted on Photo Jammers and get a vibe about the group,
mm,
about the way you look at things. It's very diverse, and that's how that it kind of represents that tapestry.
mm.
You know, it is the tapestry, those photos that are on our Instagram page. You see the diverse.
When you mention it that way, maybe think about songwriting.
Mhm.
If I was to get into photography, I think I would try this too. People ask me what kind of music I play. I'm like, it depends on the song. Folk, rock, happy, sad. What am
Mhm.
I feeling? So now that you mention that, I think I'd approach it. I don't want people to see a bunch of dogs. I love my dog. Everyone does. Could I take pictures of different people's dogs? Maybe my site's called Dogs. People look like they're dogs.
Yes,
And I have
yes.
five on my own dog. And then I have a picture of the person and then their dog and then the mother. That's, and then it's fun, right? You could go, "Hey, look at that dog. And there's a dog for everybody. Or
You have every portrait. Like now I'm picturing a page. You have the portrait, and then you have to slide to see what kind of dog they have. But if you just look at the portrait, you might be able to guess.
yeah, right. You've heard that. You've seen that. It's the idea, meaning it's about as an artist, you're doing it for the person, not yourself. Um, whatever, whatever you do, it's about the making somebody else have a feeling, not,
Yeah,
yeah, not
yeah,
what you like to look at. Well, I mean, they're both okay, but I personally get more joy out of seeing how someone reacts positively.
Yeah.
whatever to my creativity than just, oh, you're
Yeah.
good or whatever. Yeah. Nice. Well, the PhotoJam's pretty easy website to remember, photojam.net.
That's right.
And it'll be in the show notes. And there's the lessons there in the community. And looks like there's a quiz. It says, what kind of abstract photography are you?
Oh, that's just a fun little quiz. Yeah, there is a
Yeah,
quiz. Check it out.
yeah. Anything else?
There's lots of free stuff you can do on PhotoJam in the Learn section. You can go in and take a free mini course or a free mini lesson. But
It's
come
well
join
done.
the program. Check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Feels good.
Thanks, Molly. I really appreciate you being on my show.
I'm so glad you reached out. Thank you, Danielle.
I learned a little bit of stuff about photography and yeah, and good conversation creatively.
A lot about the creative practice and how
Yeah,
songwriting and photography and all of the arts, they can give it to you.
yeah. And oh, what's next for you
For
and
me,
PhotoJam or both? What are you up to next?
well, right this week we're working on constructivist photography, and next week is Dada, Dadaism.
I
So
don't know either one of those.
we're
Uh,
moving through the movements of abstract
that's why
photography.
you go. You go, you'll find out, right?
You go, you'll find out. It's
All right. Thanks,
awesome.
Molly.
Thank you
Have a
so
great
much.
day.
All right, see ya.